Hey everybody, I'm Catherine Sprung. We are going to be making cashew jelly rolls. I'll get into what exactly that means, but first we're gonna talk about a couple inspirations that popped up this recipe. So I have some karma nuts. These are cashews, and this is kind of the feature of the recipe. They're called wrapped cashews, so they still have the shell on there. This is a company, a family-owned company, almost a century's worth of cashew and nut knowledge, so I think that they know what they're doing. Certain benefits that they offer, that they are not oil fried like some of those competitors that you'll find in the grocery stores. So they're giving you the all-natural with the skin, which has that antioxidant similar to like a blueberry that they say. So super excited to use these. This is the sea salt variety. So we're gonna start with this. Previous to this, I made some cashew nut butter, which is super easy. Does take a little bit of time, so that's why I made it in advance. Very easy to do though. Take all of those beautiful cashews, spread them out onto a sheet pan in an oven at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. We're gonna toast those for about 10 minutes. Take them out, let them sit for about 10 minutes. Get a food processor. I used an 11-cup food processor, and then I used 4 cups, which happens to be 2 of these containers. You wanna make sure that you at least have enough of those nuts and that product in there so that the blades can, really purify it and get it nice and smooth. That takes about another 10 minutes. Then we've got some coconut oil. Drizzle 2 teaspoons of that in there till you get that really nice and creamy consistency of this cashew butter. Got the cashew butter here, it's ready to rock. Now let's talk for a second, not too long though, because I really want to make these, about the inspiration for this dish. So not long ago, I was on a food competition and I made these cheesecake egg rolls. The whole theme was a mashup theme. You are under a clock and under fire to do this quickly. Came up with that idea and was super pleased with the result. It actually ends up being a really fun and very simple dessert, but we can fancify it, we can plate it and make it look all jazzed up. We'll do all of these things. But that was kind of the inspiration for this. So a classic nostalgic treat, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, sometimes polarizing for people. I myself never grew up with them, so now I'm obsessed with them and I love them. And I figured let's do a dessert spin on that and make it into a treat that's really simple and delicious. So let's get started. So we've got our cashew nut butter already. What I want to do is turn it into sort of that consistency and imitate that Reese's peanut butter cup filling. We want to do that so that it's a little bit more substantial. We're going to be deep frying these egg rolls, these cashew jelly egg rolls. So we want the components on the inside just to be a little bit more substantial so they don't just ooze all out of the place. So once we have this, we're gonna do a half a cup of this cashew nut butter here. So we'll measure it out into our measuring cup. All right, that looks to be a lovely half cup there. So once we've got that, we'll pour it into our bowl here. And we're gonna use some confectioner sugar for this. If you choose to not do the sugar portion, totally fine. I would say to just probably make sure that the cashew butter, which you're going to store in the fridge anyway, that's the best way to preserve it because there are no preservatives. So you'll keep it in there anyway. Just make sure if you're using it that it is very cold. That way at least it kind of seizes up and firms up a little bit. But this is my recipe, so we're gonna use the confectioner sugar for that. So we have our half cup. We're gonna add 3 tablespoons of this confectioner sugar in there. And then we're just going to simply stir that up. All right, so this is getting pretty thickened, as you can see, which is exactly what we want. We really want this to be mimic that filling of a Reese's peanut butter cup, which is not, it's not creamy like peanut butter, but it adds that kind of dessert candy quality to it. So this is almost totally incorporated here. And I can tell you from mixing it that it is definitely thickened up. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. So we'll go ahead and set this aside. This one's ready to go. But of course we need our jelly component. Now, if you happen to see the last video for the apple pie cookies, if you haven't, check it out. It's delicious. Also very easy to make. You know that I have an affinity for freeze-dried fruit. I love them. I think especially too in our current times, going out to the grocery store and getting certain supplies might be challenging for produce. So the great thing with freeze-dried fruit is it has an incredible shelf life and you could really use it as you need. I typically tend to blend it down to a powdered form. That way you can use it in so many different applications. You can use it for smoothies, to flavor different yogurts, or if you're making cakes and doing buttercreams, so many different things. So it really does come in handy. So I have freeze-dried strawberries that we're gonna use. You can use anything else. If you have raspberries, any other type of berry that you prefer, go for it. But we're gonna get a little bowl here. Let's clean up some of this stuff. Let's start with 5 tablespoons, that is. 4 and 5. And again, you can always add more. You can adjust. It's a very, very forgiving ingredient, but we need to rehydrate it. So we've got some regular old water here, and I always say that this is really just, this isn't a science. We just kind of want to eyeball it and see, but just for our own good here, we'll measure out. So we had 5 tablespoons. Let's start with 3 tablespoons of water. We also want to make sure here too that the consistency is, I would like to say, more of a puree rather than like a sauce. Again, we just want to create something that's going to be substantial enough so that when we add it into the egg roll wrapper and fry it, it doesn't seep out at all, or as much as it would if it were more of in a liquid state. So I'm not gonna lie, I kind of think that this ratio that we just did here is looking pretty great. So we're gonna leave this alone. Now what we want to do is assemble. So we have some egg roll wrappers. These are already made, which is great. So you really don't have to do any fussing with that, and they're really easy to assemble as well. So we're going to put these at a diagonal, and we're going to fill it from the center. So I'm just going to grab one of these little cookie scoops here. You don't have to, but I'm just going to do that for portion's sake. I would also say that it's about a tablespoon. So, but again, you just want to make sure that you have enough in there so you're getting a nice amount, but you don't want to overstuff it either. So that's why we're starting this way, so we can kind of do it a little bit conservatively and just know really what we've got going on here. We can do just a smidge more, but then keep in mind too, we're going to be adding in that strawberry filling as well. So we can use this guy too to kind of scrape that out into there. So let's go ahead and why don't we do an equal distribution here? We'll do another, got our tablespoon here. So we can just add that, and really the placement doesn't matter. It's all gonna get rolled up and assembled together. We're then gonna need a little bit of just water on the side. That's what we're gonna use to help seal everything up in there. So we're gonna take one end of it and we're going to kind of tuck it in nice and tight. We're going to then add in, or tuck in rather, our sides. I want to make sure that everything gets in there nice and snugly. I'm going to move this plate because we just want to focus on this one for now. So, you know, you can just, with the little bit of water, just on your finger, just wet down the sides here so that it has something to stick onto. This is really all it's going to need to adhere together. And then we're just going to nice and snugly fold that over, and we're going to leave it with that kind of like that envelope side down just for a moment, just so it can kind of like get in there and really just seal up. So you'll heat up your oil. I'll get ready to do that in a minute, and it could take a few minutes, but then you want to just monitor it. You don't want it to go too high because then you'll get really burnt edges pretty quickly, and if it's too low, then it won't crisp up and get nice and golden brown evenly the way that you want it to. So you'll hook on your thermometer, get it up to that temperature, and then we will be ready to fry these up. Okay, so our oil is at 360. We're ready to rock, but let's just set ourselves up for success. Let's move a couple things out of the way for now. What you're going to want to do too is prepare a plate, a tray, a cooling rack, whatever you have, with some paper towel on top. That way, once our items come out of the oil, it can soak up some of that excess oil off of there. We'll gently drop this in. And already you can see those lovely bubbles. We'll rotate it 1 or 2 times. And then when it looks ready, you know, the visual's not gonna lie, it will be ready and it'll be great. So this is looking really beautiful, and we don't wanna do, you know, too much and get it overdone. So we'll just kind of monitor it here for a second. Flip it back a little bit on the other side where it may need a little extra love. But then we're really going to be set. So this is how it's looking right now, and to be quite honest with you, I think we're good. So I'm just going to switch off our pot of oil here because it has done its job. Let's go ahead and make ourselves feel luxurious and fancy, and we'll plate it. You guys, this is like super delicious. You've got everything wrapped up in this beautifully flaky shell. You've got the cashews from the karma nuts that are really just the cashews and that coconut oil. So strawberries, this is actually like a very well-balanced treat. It can be a dessert if you want, something you can, you know, take on the fly. It was really quick to make. Once you've got that cashew butter ready to rock, you can also make it however you want. Use any ingredients that suit you the best. But regardless of how you choose to make it, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy whatever treat you choose to make, and I'll see you next time.